A pleasant good evening from the news center here at Freedom Communications Incorporated in Monrovia. A warm welcome to this Thursday, November 25, 2021 presentation of Freedom News Basket. To the news, there's 45 minutes of the latest happenings making news in Liberia and elsewhere. I'm Jeff Jefferson, anchoring this edition. The top developments are following tonight. President George Weah arrives the plenary of the Liberian Senate calling for the ratification of the Mineral Development Agreement between the government of Liberia and the Selamitine. Citizens of Lofa County, including supporters of Bonn and Samuka, Thursday blocked the border between Bonn and Lofa counties, demanding the certification of their senator-elect. Education Minister Susoni denies reports of dismissing public school teachers in the country. Says there is no unilateral retirement of employees at the ministry. Elsewhere, those who bear the greatest responsibility for crimes committed during the presidency of Yahya Jammeh in the Gambia should be prosecuted according to the head of a commission that has been looking into the events that took place during his 22-year rule. That's according to the BBC. The details of these developments, the voices of the newsmakers, the news bulletins post. The following developments are packaged in this edition of the news program. At this juncture, we cross over to the news center where Willie Tupra is seated to set the pace with the bulletin. A pleasant good evening, Willie.
Good evening, Jeff. Good evening, Liberia. President George Weah has written the plenary of the Liberian Senate calling for the ratification of the Mineral Development Agreement between government and ArcelorMittal. President Weah, in his communication, read about the Assistant Secretary of the Senate, Genevieve Massaquoi, named the connection of rules and other developments undertaken by the company since 2005, among others, as contributions made to the development drive of the country. The request by President Weah, according to the communication, follows a series of negotiations where both government and ArcelorMittal agreed to review and amend certain provision in the current agreement between both parties. The communication to the Senate at the same time disclosed that in the current amended agreement between ArcelorMittal, Liberia, and government, the company will make an investment of over $800 million, which will provide government an amount of US $555 million within 19 months of the ratification. Meanwhile, following the reading of the president's communication before plenary Thursday, Sano County Senator Augustine Chi moved that the communication be sent to Committee on Concession, Lands, Mines, and Energy, Ways, Means, Finance, and Budget, and Judiciary Claims and Human Rights to report to plenary within 2 weeks. In another development, Montserrat County Senator Sir Joseph is calling on the Liberian Senate to set up a specialized committee that will engage communities directly affected by the operation of ArcelorMittal Liberia. According to Senator Joseph, setting up such committee by the Senate through its leadership will help avoid future threats to the peace and development of the country. Senator Joseph's recommendation to plenary was contained in an amended motion to Grand Coup County Senator Augustine Chi motion during Thursday section 16 of the legislature. Following the acceptance of Joseph's amended motion by Senator Chi, Senate Pro Tem Abbott Chi set up a 6-member specialized committee with the aim of carrying out community-based engagements in communities affected by the operation of ArcelorMittal. It can be recalled since ArcelorMittal Liberia requested an extension of the current mineral development agreement with government. There has been several concerns from Liberians regarding the operation of the company. Members of the specialized committee include Montserrat County Senator Sir Joseph and Darius Dillon, Boto County of Bapuru County, Senator Jeremiah Kong of Nima County, River G County Senator Jonathan Singui, and Senator Augustine Chi of Sino County. President George Weah has dedicated the newly refurbished bathrooms and a modern basketball court at the Wellhurston High School in Monrovia. Speaking Thursday at the dedication of the projects, President Weah said the gesture is in recognition of the school's contribution to his educational achievement. He further promised to extend similar gesture at the Muslim Congress High School, one of his alma maters. The Liberian leader also encouraged students at the institution to see education as a priority in achieving their goals, urging them to associate with people of positive mind. Meanwhile, the administration of the Wellhurston School presented President Weah his last soccer boots, which he used during his hit days at the Wellhurston High School in Monrovia. Chief Justice Francis Kokpo has suspended all court activities to allow judges, magistrates, and lawyers attend the Liberian National Bar Association's convention in Gantanima County. Justice Kokpo's November 22 suspension of court proceedings will run from Thursday, November 25, that's today, to Saturday, November 27. Our judicial correspondent said that the Liberian National Bar Association pending convention will also witness over 400 Liberian legal practitioners going to the pool on Saturday, November 27, to elect a new corps of officials for the association for a tenure of 3 years consistent with the LNBA's constitution. Those contesting for the Liberian National Bar Association presidency include Councillor Sylvester Renning, Jala Babu, Alhaji Swalihu Sisi, and Ibrahim Sila. Councillor Bobby Livingston and Jamed Detru are contesting for the vice presidency. Councillor Jura Lynch, Bernard Vaman, Luther Yofi, and Antonin Lamin Ikpagor are vying for the Secretary General position. The only two female councillors, Richard Yaba Duba and Antonin Maminta Jabatet Salif, are contesting for the treasurer position. Citizens of Lofa County, including supporters of Brandon Samuka, on Thursday blocked the border between Bow and Lofa counties, demanding the certification of their senator-elect, Brandon Samuka. According to sources, the citizens brought out country devils and traditional marks dancers, indicating a no turning back for the process. It can be recalled the Supreme Court of Liberia has indicted Samuka for misappropriation of funds belonging to the armed forces of Liberia. Despite Samuka paying almost 50% of the money, is yet to be certificated. The former defense minister was indicted along with two others, that's two of his deputies. Education Minister Ansu Soni has denied reports of dismissing public school teachers in the country, noting that there is no unilateral retirement of employees at the ministry. Minister Sonin, however, promised to look into complaints from Liberians who will identify individuals or teachers who were dismissed by the ministry without any cost or proof for such action. Speaking when he appeared before the plenary of the Liberian Senate Thursday, Professor Sonin disclosed that in the case of the commission of a crimes or violation of the laws of Liberia, the complaint of such individual is forwarded to the Civil Service Commission and subsequently to the Ministry of Finance. The Liberian Education Minister also stressed the need for more budgetary support to the Ministry of Education for the improvement of the country's education sector. A 12-man panel jury have been adjourned, defending Cassidy Moba guilty for killing Vafuri Kamara, member of the Kapao Secure Watch Group in Johnsonville in 2021. The trial jurors' November 22 unanimous guilty verdict claimed that a weight of evidence adduced in court by prosecuting lawyers was convincing to convict defendant Mobile for the crime of murder. But defense lawyer Antonin Sinead Kala took exception to the trial juror's guilty verdict against his client and is awaiting the court's sentence. However, the court has placed hold on defendant Cassidy Mobile's sentence to allow the probation officer of Montserrat County to do a pre-sentencing investigation report on the defendant consistent with Chapter 35, Section 35.1 and 2 of the Sentencing Guideline Booklet. Our judicial correspondent follow revealed that this is the second time a circuit court has adjourned the defendant guilty of capital offense after he was found guilty for armed robbery at Criminal Code D and got 4-year sentence at the Monrovia Central Prison. Grand Creek County Senator Nimeni Batikwa is proposing the allocation of US $100 million in the 2022 national budget for primary roads in all 15 counties of Liberia. Senator Batikwa, in a communication to plenary Thursday, called on the Senate to allocate said amount, especially when the budget is before the legislature for legislative actions. The Grand Creek County Senator termed the deplorable road conditions in the country as one of the major problems facing the country. He attributed the hike in prices of basic commodities and other services to the current deplorable road experience in every part of Liberia. Senator Batikwa further noted that citizens of Liberia face difficulties in commuting to various parts of the country. As such, there is a need for government to make decisions in addressing issues, especially in rural Liberia. Following the reading of the communication, plenary voted to forward the communication to the Senate Judiciary Committee that is already investigating issues relative to the road funds. The committee, which is chaired by Grand Cape More County Senator Vannin Sherman, is expected to report to plenary next Tuesday. A day following the signing of a communique by members state of the Minor Railroad Union, the Secretary General of the MRU, Councillor Medina Nwisa, says the communique seeks to address crises in neighboring Guinea. Addressing the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism that's briefing Thursday in Monrovia, Ambassador Nwisa said in the communique, members of the MRU are expected to engage Guinean government beginning next week on the stability of peace in that country. According to Madam Nwisa, for the MRU to engage Guinea, the Union will discuss with 3 of its member states to include Liberia, Sierra Leone, and the Ivory Coast through the engagement process. The MRU Secretary General further noted that the Union's major concern about security issues in Guinea, which could be a threat to neighboring countries including Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Ivory Coast. She at the same time stressed that the MRU is also concerned about security at various borders of its member states. As such, they are engaging authority that are responsible for securing the border line. The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, in collaboration with the National GBV Task Force and partners, on Thursday officially launched the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender Violence. The 16 Days of Activism Against Gender Violence is a global campaign originating from the First Women's Global Leadership Institute to Ending Gender-Based Violence. Though that these dates were chosen to emphasize that violence against women and girls is a violation of human rights and acknowledges the role of patriarchs that embody harmful traditional practices and legal policies that silence on abuses of women and girls. Speaking during the launch, the acting minister at the Ministry of Gender, Hassan Kanen, has extensively linked women and human rights preventing and responding to gender-based violence as one of the most government commitment to advancing human rights and promoting gender inequality and enabling women and girls' rights. For his part, United Nations Resident Coordinator Neil Scott noted that the celebration of the 16 days of activism is important because it gives rise to speaking against gender-based violence and issues affecting women and girls globally. Scott asserted that the 16th day of activism that will be used to amplify and bring together the voices of everyone by telling people that Liberia or the country meant whatever it says, as a no means no in the fight against gender-based violence. He applauded government, the society, and everyone who amplified their voices in making sure the protection of women, girls, boys, and men's rights are respected and not infringed by anyone. And the International Organization on Migration Liberia, through its Migrant Messenger program, has ended a week-long massive awareness against irregular migration on the need to safe travel. The awareness, which climaxed with a debate and quizzing competition held at the YMCA Gymnasium in Monrovia, brought together several high schools presenting arguments on the importance of acquiring relevant documents before traveling. The awareness is a part of Migrants at Messenger Caravan 2021, using sports, entertainment, and community engagement, among others, to disseminate information among Liberia's mostly the youthful population on making informed decisions on traveling. At the close of the week-long awareness, IOM, that's the International Organization on Migration Liberia country representative, Mohamed Diallo, called on Liberians to begin an awareness process on safe migration and the danger of irregular migration at their various homes, schools, and community. According to Diallo, the involvement of every citizen is important in the fight to discourage irregular migration. The IOM country representative also used the media to call on citizens to take advantage of the West Africa Free Migration and ECOWAS protocol, which he believes is an easy way to travel properly. The ECOWAS protocol on the free movement of people and goods ensure free mobility of community citizens of member states. Well, that's it from my end. It's back to you, Jeff Jefferson, for the continuation of the news basket.
Willie Tupa in the read of the news bulletin, a regular feature on Freedom News Basket. One of the major developers are following tonight. President George Weah raised the plenary of the Liberian Senate, calling for the ratification of the Mineral Development Agreement between the government of Liberia and the ArcelorMittal. Let's bring you the voices of those making the news. President George Weah has dedicated newly refurbished bathrooms in a modern basketball court at the Wellheston High School in Monrovia. Speaking Thursday at the dedication of the project, President Weah said the gesture is a recognition of the school's contribution to his educational achievement. The Liberian leader further promised to extend a similar gesture at the Muslim Congress High School, one of his alma mater.
I know there's a private school. There's not a government-owned school. It's a private school, same with here. But I only did what you see here simply because my own shape. Enough for nobody. President went to Wellstone School. Wellstone School bathroom, go see it. Wellstone, go look at that basketball court. So my personal initiative is to make sure the bathroom is rehabilitated, restructured. Their basketball court. I'm coming right back to put turf. Everything that happens to be in the school, good or bad, is a motivation. My reason of being here is to give back. When I was denied, it made me stronger. When I wasn't denied, it made me feel love. So it's a mix of what I experienced here. I take it on anybody. Nobody I take it on. It made me more responsible. And Wellstone, I will do my best. Next door, that Muslim Congress, I will send my people to check to see what needs to be done. So it's good to see you all. But let me, again, let you all know. It's a facility. It's been refurbish. If you don't take care of it, it will go right back to. So you have the responsibility to make sure that what is fixed, you have to make sure it's clean, it's well taken care of, you have to be proud of it. And even for hygiene, especially women, if you're going to use that bathroom, then you have to take charge. You have to make sure that it's clean every time. Every time. It's easy. You can find one janitor somewhere, everybody pay for that. You know, during our time, we don't pay class due. Yeah. You don't pay class due. Yes, we pay class due. And that class due, then trust me, if anything happen to one of our friends in the class or the sick, they eat JFK. We collect all the class due, we go to JFK, we'll see what that, pay our take their shoes. But again, it's an honor, to do what we're doing. People that go to you, never forget them. Some are good to see you, forget it. I hope you're doing well. It's important to do well. Stay in school. School is the ultimate. Let school be your friend. You see, someone who don't have opportunity. But I promise my brother John, it doesn't matter what I do, I will end up going to school. So I don't listen to you. I played 18 years, almost 19 years of professional soccer. Right after, I went back to high school, Continental Academy. Then I left high school to DeVry University.
Is Liberian President George Weah. Still with the Liberian leader has written the plenary of the Liberian Senate calling for the ratification of the Mineral Development Agreement between the government of Liberia and ArcelorMittal. President Weah, in his communication read by the Assistant Secretary of the Senate, Genevieve Massacoy, named the connection of roads and other developments undertaken by the company since 2005, among others, as contributions made to the development drive of the country. The request by the president calling to the communication followed a series of negotiations where both the government of Liberia and ArcelorMittal agreed to review and amend certain provisions in the current agreement between both parties.
Honorable Teacher, President Potapari, the Liberia Senate in session, Capitol Hill, on River Liberia. Dear Mr. President Potapari, I am pleased to submit to your honorable body for review and subsequent ratification amendment number 3 to the Mineral Development Agreement among the government of the Republic of Liberia and ArcelorMittal Liberia Holdings Limited and ArcelorMittal Holdings AG. As you may be aware, the government and ArcelorMittal Holdings AG may enter into a Mineral Development Agreement (MDA) on August 19, 2005, which was ratified by the legislature, signed by the president, and printed into handbill. The said agreement has already gone through 2 different amendments on December 28, 2006 and January 23, 2013, respectively. However, following a series of negotiations and consultations, the government, ArcelorMittal Holdings AG, and ArcelorMittal Liberia Holdings Limited have agreed to further amend certain provisions of the Mineral Development Agreement, giving rise to this 3rd amendment. Honorable President Contemporary, under the 3rd amendment, among other things, ArcelorMittal will make a US $800 million investment in Liberia, which will provide the government of Liberia with US $55 million within 19 months of ratification. It will develop the Yekeba-Buchanan corridor, creating much needed jobs and training for Liberians as well as direct foreign investment towards Liberian infrastructure. I therefore urge the legislature to ratify this agreement. Sincerely, George M. Weah, Sr. And the sponsor of the bill is Senator Simeon B. Taylor of Grand Cape Mountain. Mr. President,
Meanwhile, following the reading of the president's communication, before plenary Thursday, Sano County Senator Augustine Chie moved that the communication be sent to the committees on concessions, lines, mines and energy, waste, means, finance, and budget and judiciary claims and human rights to report to the plenary in 2 weeks.
Putting the signatories attributable to our rule on voluminous document, and so move that the communication president, together with the concession agreement attached thereto, be received and copies of the document made and distributed among the senators, and that the document be forwarded to the Committee on Concessions, the Committee on Lands, Mines and Energy, the Committee on Waste, Means, Finance and Budget, and the Committee on Judiciary Claims and Petition to report to plenary too.
his Sonny County Senator Augustine Chi. Coming up is the sports, but this development will set the pace. Montserrat County Senator Sir Joseph is calling on the Liberian Senate to set up a specialized committee that will engage communities directly affected by the operations of ArcelorMittal Liberia. According to Senator Joseph, setting up such committee by the Senate through his leadership will help avoid further threat to the peace and development of the country. Senator Joseph's recommendation to plenary was contained in an amended motion. The Grand Crew County Senator Augustine Chi motioned during Thursday's special sitting at the legislature.
Honorable President, fellow colleagues, Honorable Movement, I will be ready to vote, colleagues, that considering their major concern from counties, adjacent communities, that the Honorable Liberian Senate, led by the Pro Tem, set up a specialized committee to visit those counties and have conversations with the family, to the community dwellers that are directly involved with those mining areas, to have conversation with them while the committee is doing her work, for the sake of peace and security. That is my readiness.
His Montserrat County Senator Sir Joseph. Education Minister Ansu Soni has denied reports of dismissing public school teachers in the country and noting that there is no unilateral retirement of employees at the ministry. Professor Ansu Soni also promised to look into complaints from any Liberian who identify individuals or teachers who were dismissed by the ministry without any cost or proof for such action. Speaking when he appeared before the Liberian Senate Thursday, Professor Soni disclosed that in the case of the commission of a crime or violation of the laws of Liberia, the complaint of such individual is forwarded to the Civil Service Commission and subsequently to the Ministry of Finance.
There can be no unilateral retirement in this country. Nobody has the authority in no place, regardless of your title, to retire people outside of the rules of law that you have set. So there's no like that. In addition, even the loss of teachers cannot be dismissed as with the strike of a pen. He has to be either involved in acts that violates other laws, or if it's just misbehavior, he missed classes, or he does some things that are not compatible with his position as a teacher, our first action is to reprimand by suspension, and after that, we refer to the civil service and recommend to the civil service retirement. Or actions taken against any civil servant is recommended to the civil service. Why? Because we don't have the payrolls. The payrolls are with the Ministry of Finance. Even if I want to suspend somebody, that letter has to go as a recommendation to the civil service, to the Ministry of Finance, because we don't have jurisdiction over the actual payroll. When the payrolls are prepared, they are prepared by the Ministry of Finance and forwarded to us, everyone to review and see if there are corrections to be made. If there are corrections, we propose those corrections and send it back to them. That is the protocol. No minister, absolutely, regardless of your height or your weight, has any authority to dismiss a teacher or any staff just with the strike of a pen or say get out of here. That doesn't happen. And for people of my status, with the level of maturity we have, it's absolutely impossible for me to get dismiss a teacher just like that. That hasn't happened. However, mistakes are possible. If there is a person who has been dismissed without any reference, I will be happy to get that reference so I can investigate and see how it happens. Thank you.
His Education Minister, Professor Ansu Soni. At this juncture, we now join Thomas Kujorola at the sports desk to read us about the passion. Good evening, Thomas.
Good evening, Jeff. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Passion of Life. Following a communication written to Judge Quincy Grand of the Monrovia City Magisterial Court on Wednesday, asking for the court to postpone a conference which the court cited the Liberia Football Association boss Mustafa Raji to a conference following a complaint filed by third division side Stages FC to its legal team. The championship side has termed as delayed tactics the Liberia Football Association prayer for excuse and postponement of a court conference that was stated for Wednesday of this week. Addressing a press conference in Monrovia, in Pittsville, Stages FC President Chris Weir said that the communication from the LFA is a delayed tactics because the LFA Vice President Sekou Konen and Wilma Smith, as well as Deputy Secretary General John Bono and the LFA Deputy Secretary for Legal Affairs Benedict Yasia are all in countries. We believes that the delayed tactics from the Liberia Football Association means to ensure that the local football halls conduct their upcoming elections with executive committee members to replace executive committee member Councillor Joseph Colley.
This is a delayed tactic because Vice President Sekou Kone and Wilmot Smith, which is the VPO, and Deputy Secretary General John Boma and Benedict Yasia, who is the legal person, they are all in Monrovia. In fact, Anthony Yasia, who was providing wrong interpretation of the statutes at Saturday's Congress, is the best person who should have represented the LFA conference. Unfortunately, he wasn't there. The LFA has asked the court to hold a conference on December 2nd. And again, we know that, on the 1st will be the election based on what we know. And we see this also as a, delay so that they can have the election. Okay, since outside of the Congress, when the female sheriff had gone to serve the citation issued by the magistrate, Janet to the Liberia Football Association President, Mr. Mustafa Raji, Sports Minister Zioga Wilson and Deputy Sports Minister Annie Kwame, a CAF and FIFA match commissioner, club licensing manager, and stadium inspector obstructed the rule of law to the dismay of the petitioners.
Also speaking, we are saying he can predict a more serious situation that took place during the LFA November 24 Congress if more serious care is not taken ahead of the April's Congress. According to the Stitches FC president, the long battled in the 2018 football election is still fresh on his memory. As such, as football stakeholders cannot afford to go through such cycle again. He said they, as football stakeholders, can assure the president of the Liberia Football Association, Mustafa Raji, and Deputy Youth and Sports Minister Andy Kwame, that the same method they used to go to FIFA in Switch are still available for them to go to FIFA.
I can predict a more serious situation than what happened on 24 November if care isn't taken in the April election, which is the general election for next year. Fellow member of the press, the long battle from the recent election in 2018 is still fresh in our memory, and we can't afford to go through another cycle. This is just the beginning of the struggle. We can assure Mr. Raji and Mr. Kwame that the same methods used to go to FIFA headquarters in Zurich, Switzerland, are still available to us. No volley in the elevator should take off joke because violence will be our last resort. And just before I thank you for coming, I'll also provide an update on what happened today on our citation when we went to the court, and we also have a communication from the court. The LFA each sent a communication that they couldn't attend the conference today because all the top executives of the LFA had traveled, and they'll be.
He is the president of championship side Stitches FC Chris. We are there addressing team of journalists during the course of the week in Princeville. The Liberia Football Association Second Division side CC United Football Club has announced the appointment of Mohamed Bamad, a vice president for administration of the newly promoted Second Division side. Before Bama's appointment as vice president of administration of the Satan-based club, he served as member of the strategic team of the club, and his new role will be to coordinate the administrative workings under the supervision of the club president and CEO, and to foster activities to gear up supporting the work of the institution. Bama was a key member of the strategic team during their days at the championship before their promotion to the Orange National Second Division League for the 2021-2022 league season, and the UEFA Conference League is currently taking place across Europe. Oscar Jordes Lavapra are in the league 2-1 against Dutch Sa Feyenoord at about this time. Well, Jeffy, that's it for this post.
Tabasco Jowola and the Passion, a regular feature on Freedom News Basket. Citizens of Lofa County, including supporters of Brownie Samuka and Thursday, blocked the border between Bank and Lofa counties, demanding the certification of their senator-elect. It can be recalled the Supreme Court of Liberia indicted Samukai for this misappropriation of funds belonging to the armed forces of Liberia. But despite Samukai paying almost 50% of the money, he's yet to be certificated. A source who spoke to Freedom FM Thursday on anonymity following the blocking of the border said citizens brought out country devils and traditional mics dancers, indicating in protest for this protesting over the delay in certificating Brownie Samukai.
People getting from Lofa, they're saying they will plan Lofa and Bone County border the support bridge.
Yeah, we heard that, but I think a big time they have been resolved. Some authority from the internal affairs went there and it's been resolved.
What you say, La Pompe, their answer?
About the information we get in, they are demanding either the seat that be contested and won by Samuka be declared vacant or Samuka should be given the chance to take a seat. That's their demand.
So what have been the response for citizens in the county?
There are some citizens that are talking about the money to take seat and others are on the contrary saying no. Also people are saying they should lead the government. Most of the student grouping others are saying that they should lead the code to take a school because the government and the traditional people also fall under the government.
It's a source confirming that Country Devils and Max, traditional Max dancers in Lofa County on Thursday blocked the border between Lofa and Bong counties. Despite reports that the situation was cut off due to intervention, we also get the reports that the traditional Country Devils and traditional Max dancers have resumed their protests and have blocked the border between Lofa and Bong counties. Details on that development will follow in our subsequent newscast. The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, in collaboration with the National GBV Task Force and partners, Thursday officially launched the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender Violence. The 16 Days of Activism Against Gender Violence is a global campaign originating from the First Women's Global Leadership Institute to ending gender-based violence. Speaking during the launch in Marigibe County, Acting Minister of Gender Social Protection, Hassan Khan, exclusively linked to women and human rights preventing, stressed the need for preventing and responding to gender-based violence as one of the most government's commitment to advancing human rights and promoting gender inequalities or equalities, and enabling women and girls to be free in the society.
The 16th day of activism is explicitly linked to women's rights, to women's rights, preventing and responding to gender-based violence. It's one of the most important government commitments to advancing human rights and promoting gender equality and enabling women and girls' rights. The campaign provides opportunities to advocate against and raise awareness about gender-based violence and reinforce the voices of women who have refused to be silent. Despite concerted efforts to tackle the problem, gender-based violence is still a major threat to security of women, girls, and boys across Liberia. It is an inevitable, but it must be prevented. Stopping this violence must start with believing survival, adapting to comprehensive, inclusive approaches, and tackle the root cause, transform harmful social norms, and empower women and girls, survival-centered essential services across the policy, justice, health, social sector, and sufficient financing.
For his part, UN Resident Coordinator Neil Scott noted that the celebration of the 16 Days of Activism is important and grounds it gives rise to speaking against gender-based violence and issues affecting women and girls globally.
Dear friends in the United Nations, I'm honored, I'm delighted, and I feel a sense of duty being here this morning on this auspicious occasion to acknowledge the 16 days of activism. We are here today in Margibi because we will be speaking out against violence against women. We do this 365 days a year, but we will also use the opportunity of these 16 days up till Human Rights Day on the 10th of December to amplify, to bring together our voices, the voices of all of us here, to make sure that we're heard and that people realize that when we say something, we mean it. So what are we going to say? We're going to say that no means no. 2 letters, very simple, possibly the most powerful word in the world. We have a right to say no.
His United Nations Resident Coordinator to Liberia, Neil Scott, earlier listened to the acting Gender Minister of Social Protection, Hassan Khan, spoke Thursday in Kokota, Marigibe County during the official launch of the 16 Days of Activism. At this juncture, we rejoin Willie Tugba the following developments.
Those who bear the greatest responsibility for crimes committed during the presidency of Yahya Jammeh in the Gambia should be prosecuted, according to head of a commission that has been looking into the events that took place during his 22-year rule. He stepped down from the presidency in 2017. Lamin Sisi has just handed over a 17-volume report to President Adama Barrow. This was the result of months of hearings at the Truth, Reconciliation and Repatriations Commission, the TRRC. Mr. Sisi did not name those who should face justice, but in a statement, the commission said to forgive and forget with impunity the violations and abuses will not only undermine reconciliation, but will also constitute a massive and egregious cover-up of the crimes committed. The findings have not yet been made public, and the presidency now has 6 months to respond. Some 250 Gambians and foreign nationals died because of human rights violations under Mr. Jammeh's rule. During the TRCC hearings, nearly 400 witnesses gave chilling accounts of alleged state-sponsored torture, rape, and enforced disappearances. The renewal of the report comes just days before the country goes to the poll in its first post-Jammeh presidential elections, and thousands of people in the South Sudanese capital, Khartoum, and other cities have held protests to keep up the pressure on the country's military leader. In the capital's twin city of Omdurman, security forces fired tear gas at demonstrators opposed to last month's coup. They had rallied to pay tribute to dozens of colleagues killed by Sudanese security forces in recent week. They also denounced a recent deal with the military that saw Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok reinstated to his post. Prominent political parties and Sudan's powerful protest movement have opposed Mr. Hamdok's decision to sign the accord with the military. Some have called it a betrayal or said it provided political cover-up for the coup. Well, that's it from my end, Jeff.
Well, thanks to Willie Tugba for reading us the news bulletin. He's taking us home on this presentation of the news program. Just before we leave you, a recap of the major developments we've been following. President George Weah raised the plenary of the Liberian Senate calling for the ratification of the Mineral Development Agreement between government and ArcelorMittal. Education Minister Susoni denies reports of dismissing public school teachers in the country, noting that there is no unilateral retirement of employees at the ministry. Country devils and traditional max dancers in Lofa County blocked the border linking Bonk and Lofa counties in demand of the certification of embattled Lofa County Senator elect Ronnie Samuka. Elsewhere, those who bear the greatest responsibility for crimes committed during the presidency of Yahya Jammeh in the Gambia are being prosecuted, according to head of the commission that has been looking into the events that took place during his 22-year rule. Many thanks to our contributors, correspondents, reporters, editorial team, and all who helped make this package of full news basket the sources. Thanks to Willie Tugba, who brought us the news bulletin, where the foreign developments, Thomas Kujorola brought us the passion sports. Thanks to Anthony Stevens, who saw the control able to the sound. As well, thanks to Yeke Kuita, who sat behind the camera. Thanks for viewing. Keep following us online at www.freedomradiolibrary.com for more news and information. The invitation is yours to join us tomorrow morning at 6 for Freedom News Insight. On behalf of the team, I've been your presenter, Jeff Jefferson. Good evening from Monrovia.